love black people. I love black culture. I'm a black man with a black mind. And I know that black people have made major contributions all over this world. Everywhere we go, we display strength, we display courage, the ability to make it through anything.
Both male and female hold a certain type of confidence in black hair. Women, when we wear our hair a certain way, no matter if it's weaved, natural, or locked, we possess confidence, and it's our own individuality and creativeness of how we carry ourselves. Man, when you guys get a haircut, bald fade, you step out the barbershop, you're like, yo, I'm ready. You know, you're ready to take on the day. That's because you took on that confidence as a black man. You're set out in the world to do what you need to do.
From the bone structure to the broad nose to the strong lips to the attitude, the personality, the soul. I could not just say one thing. And every individual black man has his own individual footprint. But basically those features, I mean, that power that you just have because you've got soul. I don't think there's any other race out here that really has the soul that we have. And I've been told by someone who was Arabic, oh, your people, you have so much soul. It's just the way we carry ourselves, the way we move, the way we talk. You can't depict just one thing because we embody everything.
And knowing your black history and your family is so important. You know, it's like the tales or the stories that have been passed down from your elders down to today. It's important to know where you come from. And I take that very serious because without knowing, you don't know where you came from. You don't know where you're going. And a lot of it is we all have some type of history of our own. But for the black family, it's truly important to know your history because so much of it is it's been covered up. It has been trying to be discredited. It's not being taught. They fight so hard to keep black history out of our schools today. So if you don't tell the stories, no one else will know.
Welcome to 28 Days Black. I'm your host, Krystina Pierson, and I'll be your guide in the celebration of blackness. Sit back, relax, and listen closely as we take you into a world of people rarely explored, but whose influence can be felt as strongly as the wind. 28 Days Black is going to explore the history of African American culture. We have always been a society that wanted to be duplicated, but we've never been able to be imitated. They've taken what we have, our lips, our hair, our skin tone, and tried to make it all their own, while instilling such a fear in us of our own selves that we didn't appreciate the beauty that they took from us. So, our next presenters are going to tell you exactly what they learned from us and how great our culture is.
My name is Alice Flowers, and my initial thoughts about black history is it's so important to us to never forget where you came from so you know where you're going in the future. So when you know your history, you can do better for the future, preparing, so you never forget where you came from. And the reason black history is so important to me, I am blessed to be able to express a relationship to a lot of great African American history. One would be that I have my grandfather, Halbert Leo Alexander, was a Tuskegee Airman, as well as his brother, Harvey Alexander, who was also a Tuskegee Airman. So this relates to me and my black history because I'm proud to have that type of history in my family. I have other history. I have a great grandmother who was part of the women's suffrage movement back in 1920s. These are great events in history that have happened that I can actually say is a part of who I am. my great grandfather, he was one of the Tuskegee Airmen in the 99th Fighter Squadron, but he was also one of the he was an alternate. He was first lieutenant in the 332nd, which you guys may know or may not know is part of the Top Guns, the Red Tails. He was a part of that, where they did the Top Gun mission. He was a part of that, where they won a trophy, which no one knows about. They won an event. It was in Las Vegas, and that was in 1949, where the trophy that they won and the recognition that they received was never recorded until later on in the late to mid 90s, where the trophy mysteriously ended up somewhere. Again, another way to kind of discredit Black history. It was founded and it was presented at that time, in which now it's on the books in the almanac that the Top Gun mission of the 332nd Squadron was the one who actually won that actual Top Gun event that year. Of course, by them being Black, that history was attempted to be hidden, like many of the other things that have happened in history. So I take personal pride in knowledge of knowing that my grandfather, and he died at a young age. He was only 27, 28 at the time when he died. I never got an opportunity to meet him. However, my Uncle Harvey, I was able to meet him. He passed in 2012. And he was phenomenal up until death. You know, he also was in a lot of the history. You can look him up on the internet. He did a lot of stuff down in North Carolina, which is where he resided. Afterwards, he was an educator. He was into business. He was into so many different things that he wasn't able to do back then, because that's why he enlisted into the military, like a lot of Black men back in the day, in order to get a fair shake. Unfortunately, you join the military, you go somewhere else, they treat you like a human being. You come back to America, you can give it up. But that's pretty much what happened. And you know, my father and my grandfather and my grandmother and my mom and my aunt and uncle, they were stationed in Germany for a couple years, which is where they had a maid. Where you think about something like that back in the day. That was in the 1945, 1946 and 50s, of having a German maid to help out with the family while my grandfather was off on mission. They had that kind of assistance back there. They were treated like human beings over there. They looked at Black people as some kind of wonderful miracle. Like, wow, you're Black, we appreciate you. Which is interesting, because again, that was not the reception here in America. So, you know, that's one of those things that I hold near and dear to my heart, is having that history related to Black history.
So, people tend to fear what they don't understand. And as a race of people, we have been so misunderstood. Why not fear us? They can't understand how our hair can hold up to gravity. They don't understand how we can sit in the sun all day and not burn. They don't understand how we can love and nurture our children and do the same for others. We've been so feared that they've put us back, they've set us back, and they've tried not to allow us to move forward. But you can never keep a Black man down. We have fought our way, whether it be through riots, whether it be through quiet sit-ins, but we fought our way. And it's finally time for us to say, you got this from us. We were the originals. A lot of people don't even know that Egypt is in Africa. The way they depict Egypt is like everyone in Egypt is fair-skinned and light, but Egypt is in Africa. And if it's in Africa, how can everyone be so light? So our next presenters are going to give you some information about how we've influenced not just American culture, but international culture, because races and nations worldwide have tried to imitate us.
Other cultures have adapted, and we should be proud of that aspect. My name is Larisha, and I'll be talking about the history of Black hair. The first sighting we see of Black hair is in ancient Egypt, where the Egyptians wore wigs, braids, and beads. Even the men had wig beards that was adorned with fake hair. In the BC era, in the Egyptians, the creativity of the Egyptians, we seen wigs, beads, and braids. And that was basically their creativity in the black hair. Moving forward to the 1920s, how they wore their hair was the finger waves, the short bobs, and you see more of natural hair, still blended in some wigs, but you start to see more of natural hair, more styling of the black hair, and they were very elegant. In the 1940s, we started to see more curl styles, a lot of jazz in that era as well, and they also did a lot of updos, different things like this. See more natural styles. There still was some wigs, but we're starting to fade it out. Now in the 1960s, we started to see a little bop to it. So we seen the finger rolls, the French rolls in the back, and the hairstyle, and more so of you start to see more of the hair being straightened for the black women. So we're in the era of the 60s where they just starting to develop a more of creative styles and more shapely hair. Now going into the 70s, we're starting a revolution. So you start to see more picked hair, more afros, more of the Black Panther era. And also, so half of the 70s were the revolution of the hair, and then the other half was starting to get the process of the chemicals, where you start to see some black people are starting to straighten their hair more with chemicals, and this is when the Jerry curl comes in. So now we're entering into the 80s, where the afros are being toned down, but they're still, the black culture is still keeping the curls mixed in. So you're starting to see the afros more taped down, and so you're starting to get the curls, and you know the 80s is the Janet Jackson look. You know, she's, you know, control, you know, so she's doing different things with the hair. So we starting to see that in this era. Now we're fading out of the 80s and we're going into the era of the 90s. So towards the end of the 80s going into the early 90s, you start to see the asymmetrical cuts, how salt and pepper used, and different hair color is coming in. So you got, so now we're going into the 90s, the early part of the 90s. You start to see a lot of women wearing short haircuts, also blending in with the box braids. You start to see a lot of women wearing braids. Of course, you know, a few artists like Brandy, that era, and then Janet Jackson with the Poetic Dustic braids. And so those different type of things where you starting to see more natural, but we're still using, you know, some added on hair. So we started to see Halle Berry with her short pixie cut, and we started to see Toni Braxton with her short pixie cut. And so women are more gravitating to that type of hairstyle than the long weave or the long hair. Okay, so later on in the 90s to the early 2000s, we started to see more of straight styles, more weave being added in, more perms. You start to see a lot of more straight hair on black women. So going into the 2000s, like Aaliyah, of course, we loved her hair. And also other artists, you get a blended of braids too. So you get Alicia Keys, she's stepping on the scene with not just braids, but she got patterns and different things going on. So she's like, yeah, you know, this natural style is still acceptable. So now we're more further on into the millennium. So you're starting to see a lot of mixed hairstyles, and also history is repeating itself because it's coming back to the more natural styles. Women are embracing their more of their natural hair. You're starting to see a lot of fox locks, dreads on women and different things like that. And they're like coming back to say, you know, like we accept our blackness, you know, so different things, whatever you want to do, and don't forget where you came from. The history of black hair has always been creative, has always been dominant. Cultures have always tried to mimic us, but we have our own style. Black has always been a vibe.
Every time I see this, I think about Zamunda coming to America. Or Wakanda. I'm serious, man. Look at this. Like if I could have my house built like this, the dome up top. We are here on Warren Avenue in Detroit, Michigan, at the Charles H. Wright Museum for African American History. This building was built in 1965. It takes you through the origins of black people from the transatlantic slave trade till today. One of the main exhibitions in this building is And Still We Rise. And when you go in the middle, in the floor, it's a giant echo. It's unique. I've never seen a building like that where they have an echo like that. It's speakers, they just echoes all over the building, but it closed pretty early. We also have 7 exhibits all together, including an art gallery. Every August, they have the African World Festival, which brings together Africans of the diaspora all over the world. The building is 120,000 square feet. Tours I came in. I actually personally know the lady who does the tour. She's very knowledgeable, she's very smart. They call her Mama Jatu. But I volunteered here about 3 years ago as a greeter, and that was a lot of fun. That was a good experience. This place is a beacon of enlightenment for black people, and I suggest that anybody of any background or age or whatever should come here and experience this beautiful building and all it has to offer. Black people add style and flavor to this world. I feel like without black people, the world would be like Kool-Aid with no sugar. From music to inventions, we add a lot of flavor. The correct word is flavor, okay? It's African, it's from Ghana, it's Ghanaian. And now y'all call it flavor or whatever. Wait, hold on, brother. But see, what they don't tell you is that the very first man was a black man. He was from Detroit, East 7 Mile. His name was DeQuandre. But y'all call him DeQuenda today. Yeah, whatever. How are you doing that? What's going on? Who are you? Brother, I am Tyrone Jenkins, aka Black Brother Man, also known as Black Body, Mind, and Soul, Black Enlightenment. I am the leader of 2 different black organizations. I am the revolution, brother. Well, my name is Aaron Flowers, and we're trying to do this Black History program. I don't know where you came from. I'll tell you what's going on, brother. I am a black Metamucil mind, okay? I am the revolution, and the revolution will not be televised. It will be internetized, okay? Follow me. And now to go into further detail, we have a reporter at Heritage Park, downtown Detroit.
Hi, we're here for another 28 Days Black in wonderful Paradise Valley, otherwise known as Black Bottom. In the 50s and 60s, you would never believe that this area and this space thrived with black business. Buck's Paradise Valley Park. Beatrice M. Buck, 28th of January in 1930 until October 13th of 2007. She was a historian, activist, and playwright. Beatrice M. Buck made it her life's work to preserve the history and culture of the great Paradise Valley in Detroit, Michigan. In Detroit's Paradise Valley, individuals, families, businesses, the arts, entertainment, and culture thrived from the 1920s to the 1960s. Populated by African American residents and historical personalities, Paradise Valley was an exciting core of civic life, featuring elegant, high-rise apartments, first-class hotels, stylish restaurants, live theater, popular nightclubs, fancy social clubs, and sports and recreational activities. It was an extraordinary American community, perhaps only paralleled by the Harlem Renaissance. The legacy lives on in the progeny of those individuals who are a part of the historical society, people among us who embody the hopes opportunities, visions, dreams, successes, and leadership first created in the Valley.
My name is Aaron Flowers, Detroit born and raised. I did some research recently and I found out that Detroit is 82% black. I'm proud to be from a city that's that black because I love black people, I love black history, I love black culture.
So, thank you guys for joining us for 28 Days Black. I'm your host, Krystina Pierson.
This is Aaron Flowers, and don't let it be until next February. Research again.